Welcome to the first webinar of the Lead3.0 Academy project. I'm Maria Laura Fornaci. I'm the project manager of this challenging initiative, and I'm glad to open the first webinar of the project by briefly presenting the Lead Academy project, its scope and aims, and introducing the agenda of today's session. The Lead Academy is a project financed under the Erasmus Plus Knowledge Alliance Action and promoted by a solid consortium led by Fondazione ISTUD in Italy and composed of 9 partners from 7 European countries, including 2 multinational corporations, Group Rossano and UniCredit Group, 2 higher education institutions, Münster University of Applied Science and Coventry University, and 1 vocational education training organization, OIC Poland, 1 international network for executive education, ESMT, and 2 consultancy firms specialized in online and management education, advances and programma. The scope of the project is to set up a long-lasting cooperation among the business and the academia for widespreading the use of MOOCs and open educational resources in leadership education and training. We can say that our project works around 2 important operational objectives. The first one is the identification of soft leadership skill portfolio and the analysis of the related skill gaps as perceived by manager, trainer, and students. This will constitute the foundation for us for approaching our second project operational objectives, being those of rising trainers' capacity to embed the MOOCs and OER into the training practice for e-leadership education and training. How we'll be doing this? We will be offering to trainers both a capacity building program and a community of practice to work on the methodological approach to online and blended learning. And besides this, we will be offering to trainers also a virtual platform equipped with already developed OERs and training paths for students and managers to rise the concerned soft leadership skills. We are closing in December the first year of project operations, which overlaps with the completion of phase 1 of our project, devoted to the research and need analysis activities for addressing our first operational objective. The research and need analysis activities including 3 main blocks of action. The first one was an in-depth literary review with, combined with a set of interviews with managers and trainers on the soft leadership skills, with the aim to identify those most impacted by the digital revolution and as foundation for drawing our project skill taxonomy. The second component of the research and need analysis exercise was a wide questionnaire survey on managers, students, and trainers for investigating the perceived skill gaps and training priority on the proposed skill taxonomy, and also to understand to what extent the trainers were already using MOOCs and OER in their training programs and practices. The third and final component of our research and need analysis exercise was a case study analysis combining desk research and interviews with online education providers to identify the critical success factor for shaping effective and sustainable virtual academies. In the next year, in 2016, we will approach the design phase and we will work on the development of the virtual academy and on the delivery of the train-the-trainer session and community of practice. All of this will bring us in 2017 to run a pilot with a selected sample of managers and students for testing and validating the functionality of our academy, our Lead Academy, and the capacity of our trainers to work with it for rising the soft leadership skill of managers and students. In the today's session, we will be focusing on the presentation of the main outcomes of phase 1. let me move to the presentation of the today agenda. The first talk will be given by Rossano from Münster University of Applied Science, who will be presenting the results of the literary review and interviews and our soft leadership skill taxonomy. The second presentation will be given by Gabriele Torretta, Senior Learning Advisor at UniCredit, who will give a snapshot of the outcomes from the questionnaire survey on student, manager and trainers and on the emerging skill gaps and training priorities concerning soft leadership skills. The third and final presentation will be given by Simon Hill from Coventry University, who will offer us an overview of the critical success factor for shaping and running a virtual academy on soft skills. We will have 2 slots for question and answer, one at the end of the first talk and the second one at the end of the third talk. So you are invited to address questions to our speakers. I would recommend you to make use of the chat. I will pick your question up at the end of the presentation and address your question to the concerned presenter. The floor now to Rossano from Münster University of Applied Science.
Okay. Hello. Thank you, Maria. Well, we'll move to the first presentation. And correct. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you. Can you hear me well?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, in all this, in our academy, we needed first to come up with a taxonomy of which are these skills that leaders need in this digital economy. So that is actually the question that undergrounds and backs up our research. So let's look a little bit to the history, just on how power and control was actually organized. When we see at medieval times, we could see a very vertical structure where power is at the top, and where we could see that uninformed individuals would be led by these kings at the time. Structures are actually very well defined at the time. And it comes a modest innovation, the Gutenberg press and printing process, that actually helped to distribute this power and distribute the information among the population. So it brings individuals that are informed, and so it's a bit harder to keep those structures of power the way they were being used. Nowadays, we could think of this printing press as the internet, because we also become more informed and empowered. Also, quoting Heather Brook, our coffee houses become our social networks. And this is a key component of our academy, this social component. What happens then with the internet? Companies, organizations, individuals are able to create, accumulate, and harness knowledge. What does it mean for e-leadership? Or actually, what does it mean for leadership? It means that we are being challenged by 4 main forces. One of them being globalization. It is hard to think of a local space when we have the digital technologies that help us to actually reach the world, either as a consumers, as a producers, or just to hire individuals. We have access to the whole world. There is also uncertain decision making. We all see how digital technologies disrupt from one day to the next one the rules of the game. It's also another force that is a 24/7 business. We are connected at all times, and in this point, the personal development becomes quite important. Education is not only harnessed in the schools, in the universities, but actually individuals have access to education. So, in this vein, a core principle in the digital economy is collaboration. Most people know what collaboration means. However, few will have the skills that we require in this digital economy to actually operate. What does that mean in the digital economy? Collaboration means co-production, co-innovation, co-strategic evolution of new business models. So let me introduce you a case of Local Motors. Local Motors is established in the US, and they have actually disrupted the car manufacturing industry. But they are able to create, accumulate, and harness knowledge. So let me just introduce you an e-leader. Jay Rogers is the founder and still the director of Local Motors, who harness actually the creativity of 5,000 automotive designers. How is he able to do that? Well, he is using a digital platform, and for more information, I suggest you to visit localmotors.com to see how it works in more detail. But all I can tell you now is that it's a digital platform that enables this business to be running. So instead of owning big manufacturing plants and hiring designers, Local Motors is able to connect around the globe 5,000 designers from 121 countries. So that means multicultural skills, leading multicultural teams where the research and development department becomes the world. It's where you can pull some talent. So first set of our skills are the ones that enable collaboration, e-communication and e-team working skills. Another issue here is that Local Motors have been able to create platforms for collaboration and exploit these digital trends to harness innovation. So more than 44,000 designs are shaped collectively. So a second set of skills that leaders need is to co-innovate, which we have denominated as co-innovation and entrepreneurial skills. But because we have designers from all over the world co-creating automotive design, they offer them protection. So this protection of the knowledge of the designers allows to create a loyal and engaged community, which is also another set of skills for e-leaders, which is harness trust among the people that is actually co-creating with you and collaborating and co-innovating. So another set and cluster of skills that leaders need in this digital age is the e-reputation skills to actually harness trust. And finally, we were asking ourselves, okay, what is then important in a digital economy where education is open? Anybody can access the information, anybody can have access to the tools to co-create. So what is important is, what can you do with what you know? So the individuals need to ask themselves, what can you do with what you know? Not only where can you get the information. And so in the last set of skills for leaders is those skills that become relevant for this personal development. And we have denominated those skills lifelong learning skills for e-leaders. E-leaders have in their hands technologies to actually have continuous education. So they need to actually use it and also to keep up with the speed of a digital economy. Out of that, we have defined as six clusters of skills, which are digital basic skills. In the case that I presented, are the skills to actually handle the technologies. Then to collaborate, we have a cluster of skills that is team working. E-communication, to actually communicate with the teams across the globe. Entrepreneurship and innovation skills, to actually use these technologies to innovate business models. Skills that are in the e-reputation cluster, which is to harness trust across communities. And finally, these skills that enable continuous development, continuous personal development, which are the lifelong learning skills. Around this framework, I would like to introduce the participants, our philosophy, our e-leadership academy, Lead3.0 Academy, that is based on those cluster of skills that is giving response to the challenges of our digital economy. Globalization, uncertain decision-making, a business that is 24/7 running, and this issue of the personal development, and it's enabled by actually a set of hard skills, illiteracy skills. Thank you very much for your attention, and I am open for any questions from the participants.
Okay. Maybe, Sue, you would like to explain a little bit more how we drew to this conclusion, so the work done for coming to the conclusion that you presented.
The work done, yes. Well, we actually conducted a literature review to explore what were these first trends in the digital economy. So that was the initial understanding. What were these trends and what were these challenges that were actually giving birth to our, let's say, interest in see which skills then the leaders would need. First, we talk about the globalization, this business running, and uncertain decision making. So that was the first detonating factor. But then, when we see that it's enabling a collaboration across the globe, we said, okay, harder skills such as handling these technologies, those are very important, of course, because they would enable. But if collaboration is so important, and it's actually something that it's a characteristic of this economy, but the digital technologies actually enable us to work at a distance, then what is happening to our interpersonal skills? If we actually have to work with people that we might not see, that we might seldom actually meet face-to-face, so what is happening to our human skills, let's say, those defined as soft skills? And then, according to the trends or the principles in the leadership economy, in the digital economy, we draw up a conclusion that a principle number one was collaboration. And so, to enable collaboration, what was needed to actually develop, and we come up with saying, okay, we need communication skills and team working skills. Another principle from the digital economy was, yes, but we also are doing co-innovation. We are innovating with talent across the world. So what do we need to harness that? Well, we need to develop more innovation and entrepreneurial skills. If we are co-innovating and collaborating across the globe, who is actually going to protect that knowledge and to actually harness this this trust that we actually use it as a governance mechanism when we don't see each other? So how do we harness that? We found a set of skills that is the e-reputation skills, and individuals are enabled by technologies. So a fourth principle for that was, how do we enable constant learning? Yes, so we needed to talk about or train or found the need to develop these lifelong learning skills. Along all these four dimensions that constitute our academy are the illiteracy skills, which is actually to learn how to use the technologies. That's like the principle to actually enable and execute that. I don't know if that answers your question, Maria.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, Sue. So let's move to the second presentation. I'm pleased to introduce Gabriele Torretta from UniCredit Group, who will be presenting the results of our questionnaire surveys on student managers and trainers to identify the skill gaps and training priority concerning the lead taxonomy as presented previously by Sue. So, Gabriele, the floor is yours.
I would like to thank the people that are here with me in this room because we work a lot on this presentation with Simonetta Manzini and Rita Fiasco. And I work also with Carlotta Maniezzo, that is another guy that is working with me on this topic, and today, unfortunately, she is not present. Anyway, I would like to show you and to present something about the need analysis survey. And in 12 minutes, we have a short time. I try to be really concentrate to give you some insight, some topics that emerging from the survey and the thing that we did together. So first of all, the goals, because at the end, we had a couple of important goals involving all the people in the survey and in the interview that we manage. The first one is to identify in a clear manner the main skills that the leader must act in the new environment that is different from the work that today they are doing and the environment that they are living. And the second goal is to identify for sure the gaps that exist from the today behavior and abilities and skills with the ones that are requested in the new environment that is going and is running to change. In doing this type of work and reaching this goal, we manage a couple of steps. The first one is to identify a common taxonomy when we speak about leadership in the new environment. And starting from the literature review, we manage some deep interview with the managers and trainers. Globally speaking, we involve 23 managers and 23 trainers. And in these long interviews that we manage, we try to identify the two goals that I mentioned before. We were suggested from the people that we have to, in some manner, to underline the fact that we are not speaking only about the soft leadership skills, but it's better to say strategic leadership skills. And in doing that, we discover that the 6 clusters that emerged from the literature review that we listened before in the previous presentation are exactly the ones that we need to work on. The second step was to manage the survey. We identify not only one questionnaire because it was not enough. We identify 3 different questionnaires, one for the managers, another one for the trainer and the students, the third one, and we implement, involve more or less 1,800 people, offering the possibility to answer to the questionnaire. And we manage also this question in 6 different languages because this is a European, for sure, project, and so maybe we have to be prepared to interact with all the people that are spread in Europe. What we discover in this type of questionnaire, let me go a little bit deeper about the cluster. The 6 cluster, as I said before, are really the ones that are the right ones. So let me mention the digital basic skills that are a big topic on which we have to work, the e-communication skills that are going to change a lot because the E is absolutely changing the behavior, the team working, the entrepreneurship and innovation skills. Another thing that is important is the reputation skill, and finally, the lifelong learning skills. We create more or less 40 questions, depending on the type of the question for the manager, the students, and the trainers. And we ask to all the people to answer to the question, and we ask also to define some priorities. So now I would like to go deeper in understanding how the people answer to the questionnaire and what was the key elements that we discover. First of all, let me say that a global view about the results that we discover in managing the questionnaire is that there are no big differences among the cluster and the targets, because all of them need really to go deeper in understand and learn and apply and discover which are the new behavior that the managers need to apply in the new environment. But if you want to underline the little differences, and there was a clear, some clear question about the priorities, we can say that the more impacted dimension when we speak comparing the cluster that I said before are the e-communication skills and the team working skills. These are the two main topics. Doesn't mean really I would like to underline this concept that all the other are not important. All of them are important, but for sure, if I have to say we have to start from something, e-communication skills, team working skills for the manager, trainers and students are absolutely important. And so maybe this is a good indication about the topics that we have to develop at the beginning of this academy. Let's go on in understanding now the managers, the trainers and the students more in deep. So managers. We asked to the managers some, as I said before, questions, so more or less 40. And we ask also to define, in their point of view, which are the learning priorities and the competence gaps. So, first of all, one thing that is emerging in a great manner and evident manner is that the managers need to understand how to use the big data. This is one thing that is important, and not only to understand, but how to use them to take decisions. Then the second point, that is another important point, is related to how to manage people, but with the digital channels. And when we speak about people, I am not speaking only thinking about the internal teams and people, but also how to enlarge and manage the big network that they have. And for sure, the digital approach could be something that is useful, but change the approach, change the manner in which the manager has to use this type of tool. The third position was, and is about the future. So how I can evaluate the business growing, the business change using the digital trend. So something that is for sure absolutely important for the manager. These are the three main topics. All the other in the list that you can see, and there are several other questions, but these one are the most important. You can read alone the others, but I would like to underline one other thing. If you look at the gaps and you look at the learning priorities, that there are no big differences among the first position and the last position of the most important skills that are needed from the managers, both looking at the learning priorities and the competence gap. This is absolutely one thing that is important, was our discovery, and is absolutely also interesting to look at the trainers. So the trainers, there are more or less three main topics that are emerging from the interview and the survey. The first one is related to the contents. So the soft or strategic leadership skills in a training program today are absent, are not present, are not developed enough. And this is one thing that we have to reflect, and maybe this is a great opportunity for us to develop something in a new manner. The second point is about the methodology, because they really don't have a confidence, a good confidence, when we speak about how to transmit, how to manage the knowledge using the new web-based methodology. And the third one is about the awareness. So they are aware that they have to face some significant changes in teaching, but they don't have any formed idea, let me see how to manage this type of journey, this type of change. Students. Students, for sure, they are focused on the curriculum because they are working to present themselves on the work environment, and so the curriculum is absolutely important. They would like to be talent, and to be talent in the future, for sure they need more e-leadership skills. Unfortunately, also looking at their answers, these leadership skills are not present and included in their studies, are not present enough, I would like to say. And this is something that underlines the fact that we have to work a lot to create and to prepare the new talents that in the business are needed. So, globally speaking, I would like to say that we are in front of a big change, and probably you know the representation in the Chinese alphabet. What does it mean? Crisis. Crisis could be represented with two ideograms. One is representing the danger, and the second is the opportunity. For me, it's important to look at the big eyes that we have in front of us instead of the danger if we are not able to manage this type of change. So we have a great opportunity in front of us, and we have also some indication coming from the managers, the leaders, the students and trainers, how to go on. The work that we have to do is to create something that is absolutely effective for these three targets. And with this final picture, I close my presentation and I give to Maria Laura the microphone. And sorry again for the technical problem that I had at the beginning.
Gabriele, thank you very much for your very good clear presentation of the result of the questionnaire survey. I don't know if do you participants want to write any question to Gabriele before moving to the next presentation?
This is Alfonso.
Hi, Alfonso.
Welcome, Alfonso. Please.
Well, you know, I just want to make a short comment. First, thank you for the analysis and the survey, because for sure it's important to listen to let's say customers and users of these programs or potential initiatives. I tend to have a sort of doubt that is related to the level of perception that our potential users have about their needs. Let me say, the more and more I work with companies, the more and more I realize that there is little or there is an insufficient understanding of the technical foundations of digital technologies, and you cannot ignore them. Especially if you're a manager, because you have to direct the work of other people, you have to make decisions, you have to evaluate, the potential impact of a new technology, and you have to, understand where the technology is going in order to, tune your business strategy accordingly. So my impression is that managers tend to underemphasize or overlook the role of technologies in their work. So they tend to concentrate on communication skills or presentation skills, teamwork, and they forget that in order to understand, for instance, what business analytics and big data means, you have to understand at least the basics. So my suggestion is, I think it would be interesting to combine a survey from end users with something which is more, let's say, top-down, in which we try to understand in some form. I don't know why. This is just a suggestion. What are then the gaps and needs that managers are facing in their daily work? Because in some cases we really have people. I don't know if you realize what David Trump said yesterday. that he wants to talk with Bill Gates to shut down the internet. So he does not have any idea at all of what the internet is, not the technical details, but how it is organized and structured. No, this is a funny example, but I think that the problem is more popular than what we think. I would suggest, a sort of also gap analysis based on assessment of what managers are doing and what they really know, and not just, what they say they want to know.
Thank you for the comments. Gabriele, your microphone is off, so...
and now it's on,
okay.
I suppose. Great. No, it's absolutely a good comment, and I agree totally. One thing that I believe is that in this environment that is affected by some advertise of the moment, let me say, and in the moment in which all the companies, and in the bank in which I am living, and the bank sector is changing a lot in this period, sometimes there is absolutely the need to push in the direction of the digitalization of the business. Anyway, I think that we have to stay connected with the ground and to do the right thing at the right moment, staying flexible, because the thing that we will discover in doing and starting in doing, in going in this direction, that is for sure to improve and insert so-called digitalization in the business, absolutely I am pretty sure that we will discover several things. And if I jump to the knowledge environment, the training environment that we have to build, maybe we have to be prepared to change the direction really fast and to invent something new, because the world outside is absolutely fast, inside a little bit less. Inside means in the companies, because companies are for sure structure, and there is the organization, and to change the organization for a big company, and I am thinking to UniCredit, to Ocean, that are part of the knowledge alliances, is not easy. And so maybe we have to stay connected with the people, with the managers, and to give them, observe the behavior, observe the needs, and change fast in the offer. This is my belief. But I don't know if it is enough. Something to start.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comment, Gabriele. I don't know if there is any other question from the audience. Otherwise, we can move to the third and final presentation of Simon Hill, who will be offering us an overview of the critical success factor for designing and shaping a virtual academy on soft skills. Simon.
Okay, thank you very much, Maria Laura. Welcome everybody. Hello from the UK. Over the next few minutes is just to understand what we've looked at from a perspective of what's out there, what is available to us as potential learners, and to us creating the Lead3 Academy. It's an interesting process that has led to a number of key observations, understanding what the critical success factors are of all of these areas as we go through. But that this analysis has discovered is understanding the factors hidden behind the marketing that is initially visible. So this presentation will, some of the best practices that have been understood, obviously develop the advantages of those, and also look at the guiding principles race as with the academy. As I move forward to the next slide, or try to move forward. There we go. As you can see here, this is a very short lists some of the variations of best practices that specifically related to being on soft e-leadership skills and embracing the electronic and the internet within this learning process. There are still a number of key gaps that are available in the mainstream best practices that you see on the screen here. But also, we have taken this learning point and have obviously considered it in terms of understanding and addressing these gaps and understanding, okay, where can this move us forward to more effect. On a review of the current academic perspective upon e-learning as well as the soft e-leadership skills, we've seen a massive and dramatic rise in the use of VLEs, virtual learning environments, to supplement the learning process for students that are attending lectures in a physical basis. But obviously the use of MOOCs and MOOC providers such as Coursera, edX, Skills University, lynda.com have all seen a massive increase upon of what is actually going on in the market and what people actually want. And so the following stages, looking at the basics, we'll address those and obviously consider those when it comes to the design of the Lead3 Academy. So, some key factors that accredited resources that are available is a key and essential element that has been found within this search. So understanding have come from and ensuring for the learner's perspective that those resources are valid, they're reliable, and also that is aimed for. As it can often happen, and it does happen in education, that just because a resource is available does not necessarily mean that it is the most appropriate for the learning method. Other areas that are quite key and were found within this, looking at the best practices, was the trust factor accreditation. Can we trust the materials that are being developed? Also, the ability to look at a full package. So looking at the clusters that obviously Gabriele and Sue mentioned in their previous slides, looking at these clusters, the Lead3.0 Academy will aim to provide a much fuller package to look through all of those key areas, whereas looking at some of the best practices that were shown on the previous slide, a number of these areas, they purely focus on a specific topic, which whilst is beneficial can also leave other key gaps. So the Lead3 Academy will allow for a much fuller experience for the learner. Other areas that have been seen to be quite beneficial, so the use of the free taster modules, so starting learners off with an understanding of what they can expect from the learning process. This classic bait and hook marketing methodology, it has been seen to be very beneficial. Statistics looking at competitions such as Coursera, seeing students registering to actually enroll on those courses. However, just because these students have enrolled doesn't necessarily mean they have completed. But I'll look at that in a little bit more detail in a moment. Other key areas, the trainer-led educational packages. The University and a number of other. The use of online learning is really embraced. However, in a lot of cases, I've known colleagues that have led online learning packages that simply leave the students to do what they want with the materials that are available. So whilst there is a degree of flexibility there, there is also the issue of potentially leading students to disengage overall. In many cases, the free access, so actually starting and engaging with the content and actually being able to go through a lot of the content without any cost up until the point all the certification takes place once the materials have been completed. Other areas quite important, such as assessment and ensuring that the learners are engaged. With some of those best practice examples shown on the first slide, or the second slide, there is an assessment method. However, with others, it's a little bit more unclear. And so the use of less focused methodologies have been seen. And finally, just looking at the other positive areas, there's the opportunity for live sessions, much like this one. But obviously, for those that aren't available at certain times, the ability to pre-record and provide offline access is essential. And these are some of the key areas, this blended learning methodology in the Lead Academy. Just to kind of the negative elements, obviously, in some cases, and can be seen as a students they're engaging with. However, in a lot of cases, the costs incurred at the beginning of learning with a certification. So, understanding the value of the education that's available is key and is paramount to the sales process and engaging those students and those trainers within the academy. As I mentioned previously, with the difference between material, there are positives to both, but at the same time, there can also be some negative elements to each. So the important thing for us to remember as we progress the journey and this roadmap is to consider that blended approach of seeing how we can integrate both of these rather than just one, which may cause frustration and conflict. And finally, the consideration of what I mentioned earlier of the trust element. Can the elements be trusted, and where are they coming from? So, just to finally wrap up and to give you an indication of where we're taking this and the learning that we've considered, how that's going to impact upon the development of the Lead3 Academy platform. Firstly, development of a platform that provides the trainer and trainee with a flexible learning key. The students and the trainers must have the ability to take advantage of the internet, the online learning, to get the most out of it. As without taking advantage of these opportunities, it would simply become education in its current form. Which, whilst this isn't necessarily a bad thing, we obviously want to encourage and enhance the learning experience for those that are engaged. The use of blended learning essentially takes into consideration student-centered learning theory, which focuses on obviously the student and what it is that's required from them. Whether it's use of their smart devices, smartphones, smart tablets, portable laptops to engage with the material. Utilise and recognise learning resources to develop valid training outputs for users, which again is another essential key factor. And finally, provide users with a full package experience of learning that consists of all the essential soft e-leadership skills. So this comes back to the point that I mentioned earlier of providing all of those key clusters that we've investigated through the review and through the initial research to provide that full package to clearly reflect what it is that the students, managers and trainers are looking for in their learning and to supplement and further develop their careers. And so creating that full package and a place where learners can come and take this training through one step at a time is and will be a growth area as we progress. One point that I forgot to mention as we went through, I mentioned earlier about the number of enrollments on a number of courses, such as doing a little research on this. What you may actually find is that yes, it is a powerful movement to learn online and for lots of people to be enrolled and start the process. Actually enroll have been suggested that don't actually complete the overall training. So this is an area that we consider ensure ability is addressed to ensure that that process is maximised or is solved. The problem is solved. That's it from me. Thank you very much for paying attention, and I welcome any questions or comments.
Thank you very much, Simon, for your presentation. I have one question for you and Gabriele. It's more looking at the future rather than looking at the work already done by us. And my question is for the both of you, because you, Simon, represented the academic perspective, while Gabriele represents the business perspective. So my question is, given that trainers are our primary target group of the project, given that we consider them the agents of change, so the means through which we can further promote and widespread the use of MOOCs and OERs, so how do you believe we can promote among trainers, both in academia and in business, the use of these innovative learning methods? Do you believe that they would be resistant to change? They would consider MOOC and OER as competitors to the traditional way and mode, class-based mode? Do you believe they would accept this change? We realized from the need analysis that actually almost the majority of trainers we investigated have not yet included MOOCs or OER into their training practice. So what's your recommendation to move on this transition?
If I may go first, I believe that the trainers is potentially going to be a difficult one. I know many lecturers here at the university and externally that are very much forward-thinking and would be quite happy to engage with the materials and the academy that we are looking to create. There is a tipping point between those that are open to these opportunities and those that are not. And for us, as a partnership, as a project, I think we need to really just look at what incentives, what reasons these individuals would have to open their eyes and to engage with the materials that we are offering. Unfortunately, complacency is an area that can seep into teaching, and I must admit, guilty of this myself, just looking, providing the same lecture on a repeated basis with only minor changes, because it is easy, it is comfortable, and so what we need to do is make this process as easy and as comfortable as possible for the trainers, to engage them and to not turn their world upside down, not to reinvent the wheel, but to ultimately address the needs of their students, them and their students. So that's my perspective.
Thank you, Simon. Gabriele?
So the question is absolutely intriguing, because three things are for me are coming in my crazy mind. The first one is that we are in front of it, speaking about the trainers, that for sure I agree, one of the key elements on which we have to work to install a different approach and help the managers to be better managers. The trainers have in front of them a big cultural change, because it's not enough to have the same role of the trainer and to change something, to introduce something that is digital in the behavior, to use new tools and to install a different manner that is going well. No, I think that they have completely to change the approach to the training. And to clarify better my thought, first of all, I hope that the trainer will be able to extremely personalize the learning experience for the manager. Let me do an example that is something that happened in the past week here in my company. We organized a training, a blended approach, because the training was really interesting, putting together different topics, managerial topics, and we asked to the participant to participate to this training, to this journey, I would like to say, and the 25% of these participants didn't participate, but because there is a kind of contagious coming from outside, that is the people is in use today to select the thing that they want, and so maybe we have to pay attention at this behavior that are coming from the people that we want to help to change. We have to be able at the end to really to personalize the learning path for the single participant, because this is key, and we have the technology and the digital, all the digital tools that can help to reach this goal. The second point that is important is that our trainers today are not in use to, also in the business environment, are not in use to think about the trainee as someone that we have to convince to participate. We have to implement in the training tools and the behavior the marketing ability to create a great opportunity for the people to participate. For a simple consideration that the people today learn from internet all of things, also in the business environment, and they learn a lot in doing things. So let me only underline the fact that the training today are not able to stay really connected with the business, and I am speaking looking inside our trainer that are in the business environment, but we are not able. This is the reason why I would like to underline again that this is a big cultural change, and our trainers today are not prepared to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gabriele. Okay, I think that's all for now. So I would like to thank you very much the presenter for today talks. Thank you very much the attendees for their interest and participation. And I invite you to stay tuned with our project activities by checking our web pages and subscribing our newsletter. Thank you very much again. That's all for now, and have a good day.